hospital, and then you had a bunch of airfields, and then you had, you can see here's the Oklahoma. Where is the Arizona?
Right above it.
Do what?
Right above it. Like at the very end, underneath.
Oh yeah, here's the Arizona. And so it's all docked, right? It's a Sunday morning. You go in early. In fact, a lot of people who saw them coming in thought it was just America doing another drill, right? Because in the forces you do a lot of drills to make sure you're ready. People didn't realize it was after the Japanese. Now, there has been some people who have accused FDR of knowing this was going to happen and allowing it to happen to allow us to enter into the war. That's mostly crazy conspiracy theory, but we did know they were planning an attack somewhere. The Naval Intelligence suspected they were going to attack. No time did the majority of people think they were going to attack Pearl Harbor. They thought they were going to attack like Guam or Midway or Wake Island or maybe even the Philippines if they got chesty. But no one was really thinking as a group that Pearl Harbor was going to be attacked. So I mean, you're a fighter and people are sleeping off Saturday night. I mean, you know, what do you think people in the Navy did? They lived in Hawaii and there was no war, right? Saturday night's a good night, right? So you're sleeping off the night before and all of a sudden it's a turkey shooting and the Japanese bombers are coming in and, you know, it's easy pickings. This is a picture of a young Admiral Yamamoto. When the United States assassinated him, hit the lights real fast, it was ridiculous. This actually happened. We were stationed, we had a lot of bases around here, and we had intelligence that Yamamoto was going to be flying from Japan to some remote island. 12-hour flight away from Japan to the island. We were 12 hours to the island on the south side. Our plan was to intercept his plane in mid-air and shoot it down. Now I want you to think about that. He's leaving 12 hours before, we're leaving 12 hours before, and our plan is to find his one plane in the air over the Pacific. And we did, and we shot him down and killed Yamamoto.
That's awesome.
That's like, yeah. Oh, dear God. Don't get excited.
Get excited. I'm the best person in the world.
She's in your seat. Why are you here, Hannah?
Because I want to.
Oh, but don't you have AP Euro? Do you need that thing now, or?
No, just keep teaching.
Okay, we're on TV, and by TV I mean two people. So it's like Tiger going over there and shooting a gun at me, and me shooting a gun at him, really hoping our two bullets smash into each other and just fall down.
Yeah.
I know you do that because you're crazy. You're like, that sounds like a great idea. We should shoot even more. It'll be fun. It'll be popping up in the middle of the air. So hit the lights again. So this is Yamamoto. Here is, you can see actually from the cockpit of a Japanese plane. I guess they were filming it. They actually have some film. Now, we talk about perspective a lot. Do you think they teach Pearl Harbor the same in Japan as they do here?
No.
Probably a little bit different, right? We probably teach slavery different than other places. I know in Texas they barely mention it.
What's slavery?
My son yesterday, oh dear God, my son yesterday came home and he had written a story. And I guess the story was supposed to be about, like, realizing something important, right? And so he wrote a story about the importance of saying please. And I was like, how sweet is this? He called it the farmhouse. And I was like, oh, you're great. And he said, he was like, there was a farmer and he was a nice man. He had 5 slaves. And I was like, what? What? What did you? All right, maybe he's going to see the error of his ways. He said, those slaves did good work, but he would not say please. So they left. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't think you get slavery. You can't just leave, but all right. And he had to do all the work himself, and he was not very good at it. But once he said please, the slaves did their jobs. Saying please is important. And I was like, oh my God, Reed. You sound like, you know, half the kids in Anderson County. Except they don't say please. I'm just sort of kidding. So, what do you say to your kids when they read that? I just backhanded him. I didn't know what to do. Whenever I don't know what to do, I just hit him. It just seems like the rational thing to do.
You're on video. You should probably see you.
I mean, I give him hugs. I don't really hit him. When Roosevelt found out about this attack, obviously we don't live in real time, right? But he did find out about this attack. In fact, he found out about it pretty early because they were able to communicate, right? We're getting attacked. They got to Roosevelt while it was still going on. And Roosevelt was one of these presidents, like Lincoln again. Wilson wasn't as much like this. Roosevelt suffered with every decision, with every battle. Knowing you have to send people into battle to win this war. I mean, Lincoln got how big the Civil War was for the future of the country, right? Great leaders see vision not 5 years ahead, but 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years ahead, right? Roosevelt knew this war had to happen. You just can't let Hitler be here. You can't let Japan keep doing this. But he hated every moment of sending these people into battle. And it really drove him down. And on December 8th, he met with Congress, and they gave him almost unanimous. One woman, oh my God, I forgot her name. The first woman to ever be in Congress. Do what? Frances Perkins was the first cabinet secretary. I can't remember. He is. Jeanette Rankin, that's it. Jeanette Rankin actually she was a pacifist. And so the Senate passed it unanimously, and the Congress passed it with one dissenting voice, and she was the dissenting voice. And this is a speech where Roosevelt said, December 7th, 1941, a date that will live in infamy. And at this point, we now declare war. All right, so now, in terms of your essay, we're cut off. Okay? In terms of Pearl Harbor, you can see Roosevelt signing into war. In fact, for a long time, he wore a black armband. That was something that was a little bit different. People dressed a lot nicer back then, you know. In fact, one of my friends, who's a very, very formal person, dropped his kid off today when I dropped my kids off. He looked at me, he said, "Is that what you wear to work?" And I was like, "Yes." And he said, "You look like a millennial." And I was like, "Thanks. I don't think it's a compliment." But people wear black armbands. You ever, in A Wonderful Life, you see it sometimes. Have you ever seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Yes.
What did the old woman wear at all times? She wore black because her husband had died. In a lot of Southern European customs, people whose husbands or wives die, they wear black for a year, or some women wear the rest of their lives. I don't know that happens now, but do what? Yeah, if you haven't seen A Big Fat Greek Wedding, you need to, because it's hysterical. My kids and I watch it about once every 2 weeks. We know all the words. My son quotes from it a lot. Here is the USS Arizona. This is the battleship that tons and tons, over 1,000 people were in it, and it turned upside down. People couldn't get out. And still today, it's a huge tomb. There are over 1,000 bodies still in it. And right above the Arizona is where we have the Pearl Harbor Museum. This is the Pearl Harbor Museum. You actually walk out on it, and it's right. In fact, when you're on it, you can actually see the upside down part of the Arizona. Yeah, it is creepy, but it's also kind of moving. You know, it's a moving thing because it's really real. In a lot of museums, it's kind of an abstract thing, but this is real.
Model of the USS Arizona before it's sank too.
Do what?
Have a little model of the USS.
Oh, really? So this is us. Now we are, and now we're at war. And this is. We'll get off to this. We'll get to all this. These are some propaganda posters. Okay, so hit the lights for a second. I'm going to turn this off, and let's get into some basic war stuff. Then I've got lots of primary evidence to show you. Okay. All right, America won this war because of the home front. My grandfathers and everybody fought in World War II, and they fought valiantly and wonderfully. But the Japanese fought tough too, and so the Germans, and so the Soviets. What made America more dynamic is what we could do at home, right? It's what we could do on the home front that no one else could do. So when we mobilized for the military, it was serious stuff. There was no more, Wilson suggesting this or hoping for volunteering. Roosevelt could have given a flying F if you didn't want to volunteer if you were a business. He wasn't asking anymore. He was telling, this is what you're going to do. Remember we said, like GM, Chrysler, and Ford? He didn't go and ask, do you mind making some ships for us? He went and said, this is happening, here's your number, do it, and there are no exceptions. It will be done. If you don't want to do it, then I'll bring in troops and do it. I'm going to take over your company, and you'll never get $1 from me the rest of your life. These are your two options. Do it or do it. And because the war was on, and the nation was united, almost unanimously. I mean, there were some, obviously we're going to talk about some exceptions. There was still racial issues, there was still discrimination we're going to talk about. But the nation was more united on this front than we had been in a long time. To give you some sort of overall military mobilization stats, and this is my favorite stat of all time, other than the Babe Ruth stat I like a lot. The GDP stat. I've told you about the GDP stat before, right? Right now our economy is increasing pretty well. We've increased our GDP by 2.5%. That's pretty good. If we increased our GDP by 4%, that's an amazing year for us. Between 1942 and 1945, we increased our GDP by 300%. At no point in the history of industrial humanity has this ever come close to. You could fall out your door and get 6 jobs. And the funny part about it was, not only could you get all these jobs, but you couldn't spend your money on anything. Everybody was saving. Why couldn't you spend your money on anything?
Nobody was making anything.
Because the factories were making stuff for the wars, right? If you were a refrigerator factory, now you're making war products. Everybody was making war products. So you were making a bunch of money and just, other than food and drink and paying off your house, this is what you did. And in my family, there was plenty of food and drinks. Once again, you never hear about Ireland invading anybody, do you? There's a reason. Women, we're going to talk about, this is some basic stuff. So the military mobilization in terms of the economy, women are going to play a critical